Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hello everyone, and welcome to the 100th episode of the Commando Cast. That's right, 100 plus episodes across nearly 2 years of doing this. That is an awful lot of time spent listening to me drone on about this fantastic game. So first and foremost, a heartfelt thank you from both myself and others in the Dice Commando community for your support. If it wasn't for you guys being here, watching, and reaching out to us, I honestly don't believe we've made it past episode 10, let alone to where we are now. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support and for your love. So in today's episode, I want to start off by sharing some really great news with the Dice Commando community. Then, in what will end up being a rather long discussion, I want to spend the majority of today talking about the future of this game and this community, which in reality have become intermixed, and they really are one and the same. The game and the community are really intertwined. We have a bunch of challenges in front of us going forward, trying to figure out how to survive and do what we want to do with this game solo, unsupported, right? We are actually, in reality, we're flying unsupported even earlier than we kind of thought we were going to be. And we're also in this weird spot where there's a lot of uncertainty, and to a certain extent, the promise of support that hasn't been coming or has been delayed is actually kind of hurting us. So in this discussion today, what I really want to do is I want to sit down and look at the community itself. I want to ask each and every one of us the question, are you a positive force? Hey guys, it is great to finally be back. So many of you may have noticed, and some of you knew before, the last several weeks of the Commando Cast were all pre-recorded. I had pre-recorded the Legacies rotation series before the birth of my son to kind of give me time to bond with him, get into a routine, figure out how to do recordings, and really just live life with crying and all of that's involved. So that's the good news is, my son, Spencer, he was born several weeks ago. Him and Amy are both healthy. They are on their way to full recovery. We are very happy to add another Commando in the mix, and I wanted to thank everyone for reaching out with their best wishes and their congratulations. And we have to warn everybody of a new bounty hunter in the galaxy. It's Baby Boba, a clone of some of the finest genetic material the galaxy has to offer. All right, guys, so all jokes aside, this is Spencer, this is Amy, we're all doing well. Just hello from the Quick Commando family. Thank you guys for your support.
Yep, go Commando.
So before we get into talking about what, with fair warning will be somewhat of a long episode, I wanted to kind of talk on a personal level. And I've had a very hard time. I've known what I wanted to talk about in this episode. 100 was coming. I wanted to kind of do something big for it. So I've known what I've wanted to do here for a couple months, but I've really been struggling with how I was going to approach this. So if you don't mind, I kind of wrote down some notes. I'm going to be reading from the notepad for just a few minutes. I've had a hard time working up the courage and mental energy to shoot this episode. The reason is we're going to be talking about community and feelings and opinions, which can be very difficult in today's environment. And, I don't just mean the last couple weeks of social change and stuff that's been happening in the United States and other places in the world. But it's just a very treacherous environment for expressing feelings and opinions these days. Right? We live in a world where people are so polarized and people are so quick and almost to a certain extent even eager to find fault in what other people are doing. In almost everything we say and everything we do, someone can take offense or make us a villain out of it. So that's why, it's putting ourselves in a position and expressing our feelings in a format as this becomes dangerous, and it becomes very, it makes me afraid sometimes to do it. So like I said, I want to kind of just baseline and level with everyone as we move forward. And I want to be clear, these comments aren't just due to all the social changes happening right now, right? We've seen that to a certain extent since the inception of this channel. Examples are, sometimes we'll see during a gameplay, we'll see a play error, and then within 15 to 20 seconds, that play error is either corrected or it's called out and it's stepped back. But in that time, people will make comments. They'll do a rather harsh comment, and then once they watch the rest of the video, they'll go back and they'll delete that comment, right? So that comment never makes it into the wild. I'll get a notification and I'll see it. But the point is, what that highlights is that person who's watching the video apparently paused the video in such a furor to tell someone they were wrong, right? And again, this is a minor thing, but it kind of highlights that this is present in everything we do. And as gamers who also, sometimes sit on their computers or whatever, we can be very aggressive in chasing this down. And this isn't simply, at least I don't believe this isn't simply me being able to take feedback. And to that extent, I actually want to give a shout out to channel supporter Liam Kirkman. He's been a subscriber for as long as I can remember, for a long, long time. This man never misses an opportunity to tell me when I'm wrong, or when there's been a mistake, right? He never misses it, but he does it diplomatically. I've never had a bad exchange with the man, right? I can take bad feedback. I can tell I'm okay taking that when there's been a mistake made, right? He does it diplomatically. He does it nicely. So I'm not talking about giving negative feedback. What I'm talking about is twisting someone's words, taking the one example to really make them a bad person. And that's the risk that we run when we're having an issue with feelings. So like I said, why am I so hesitant and nervous about today's discussion? Because of what I just said, we're talking about feelings. So they have to do with the level of polarization that has become the norm in almost every situation, and the level of polarization that we're seeing in Star Wars Destiny and across the community right now, right? It has very much become a norm in our society that it is a with me or against me culture on virtually every subject. And if this is, of course, one of the problems that we as a community face going forward, it's why in a discussion involving a subject we're all incredibly passionate about, right? And that's part of the problem. We're all very passionate about this game. That's why we're here doing it. There can be high possibility of strife, right? So what I'm asking for today is, please remember, I'm here sharing my opinions based on my perceptions and my personal experiences. Some of the actions and items I'm going to reference here today are done so as examples of non-beneficial behavior, right? I'm not questioning someone's motive or character or anything like that. Also remember, right, I'm here literally alone in a room talking to a camera, right? I don't have the ability to have the back and forth discussion with someone, right? I'm literally just sitting here and talking and sharing my opinions. And it's easy to, in a case like that, not say something ideally. I can't see facial reactions. I can't play off of that, right? All right, so I've been going on, right? In short, this is a really shitty time to try and say anything to anyone. So you may agree, you may not, but please know that in my heart, I want the same thing that we all want, which is to improve this community and be able to play this game for a long, long, long time. All right, so thank you for tolerating that, and let's get into this. So what I'm showing right now is roughly the theoretical breakdown of any community, right? What you have is you have a small percentage of people at the top who are leaders. These are the people who are, taking charge, they're driving things forward. You then have a fair amount of the population, which are what we call supporters. These are the people who, if called on, will spring into action. They will do what is needed to get stuff done. We then have the largest portion of the community, by and large, which are called consumers. These are the people who they'll take stuff for free, which is fine, right? And they are an important part of the community because there's such a bulk of it. Then at the very bottom, if you will, or the bottom slice, is the destructive portion of a community, right? These are the people who, sometimes they're called trolls, whatever you want to call it, whatever the terminology is, but these are the people who, through their actions, bring down the community and make it harder for the community as a whole to move forward. So putting this in perspective, right, we all the time talk about how good the Star Wars Destiny community is, and I truly believe that. And here's why. Now, again, there's no exact numbers here. This is all just theoretical, right? But in Star Wars Destiny, we have a larger number of leaders than I believe most other communities do, right? If you were to compare this to like a Pokemon community or a Magic community or anything like that, right? Any other gaming community, you're going to see a much larger number of consumers in that community than we have. And they also tend to have a much larger portion of destructive, right? So that's what's made our community so great, is we have a very small number of destructives, we have a huge number of supporters, and we have a lot of leaders that have helped drive us forward. So let's go ahead and really break down what I mean by each one of these pies, right? When I say the leaders, right, these are your tournament organizers. They are your content creators. They are people who are coming up with stuff for others with which to enjoy. We then go into the supporters. Now, the supporters, these are really my favorite group because they're often, right, when you look back at the leaders are also sometimes the glory seekers, for lack of a better term. The supporters aren't that, but they're like, you know what? If somebody needs help, call me, I'll do it, right? And they're also helping to pull consumers out of the consumers and turn them into part of the community, which is a huge, huge, huge role. The supporters are a huge role in this community, and we're going to talk about their role forward. Right? The consumers, we really already kind of talked about there. They will, they'll buy they'll buy stuff, or if stuff's being given out for free, they'll use it. They'll consume content, whatever it may be. They are definitely a needed portion of the community, but they're never going to really step up. And in hard times like we have right now, this is the community that is most at risk for leaving. And then finally, we have the destructive element of the community. And what this really means are the people who, and I do want to note, the destructive part of the community is actually sometimes the most passionate part of the community. They just don't really have the ability to say it well or do it well or enact it well, right? Yes, there are always people out there who are trying to cause riots or whatever like that, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about someone who's intentionally destructive. What I'm talking about is someone who, through their actions, makes it harder for the community to move forward, or indirectly attacks others, which in turn make them less likely to want to do something for the community, thus hurting the community on the whole. So let's go through our problem, or at least what I see as the problem statements that our community faces through each one of these groups, right? The challenge the community faces as the game moves away from being FFG supported, okay? The leaders. As we move away from being FFG supported, the leader group is going to be depleted. And here's why, right? These are our content creators, event organizers, who not only have been players, but have been putting time into the hobby. But now they're going to have to step up, right? It used to be that FFG would organize the event and the prizing, and the leader would just need to execute to make that happen at their local or whatever it may be, right? Now they're involved in the organization, the planning, and everything, and it leaves less time, right? So what ends up happening is that the leader group, their time becomes more depleted and more spread around. And because this isn't a paying job now, these guys have to have normal jobs, they have to have normal lives. So the time that they're spending doing the organization means that it's time that they can't spend doing something else. And what's going to happen is you're going to get a natural depletion of the effectiveness and really just the different levels within the leaders. So again, like I said, these guys are naturally going to skew to not fill the same roles that they did previously. Talking about the problem statement with destructive. The problem statement with destructive, like I said, again, I honestly believe that in their hearts, the destructive force means well and also wants the best for the community. They're passionate, they care, and they want the best for the game. They are also very much a minority. They are a very, very vocal minority, but they are very much a minority within the community. But somewhere along the line, because this high passion, it just gets misused, right? So this group's complaints, which used to be directed towards FFG, right? It used to be that if FFG would make a decision, they would complain about this and really commiserate with others in the community. And it was also, to a certain extent, somewhat of a community building activity. But now these complaints are going to be directed towards the leaders and towards the supporters. And it really now starts to carry a more community hurtful impact because they're really attacking the community itself versus what the community is built around. All right, next, so the consumers. this group's needs, inquiries, and demands now require community time and attention. Whereas before, they may ping FFG for help, or they may ping product support for help, or whatever. Their questions, their needs are going to have to be supported by the community, which again takes resources and time, right? So, let's talk about this for a minute, right? The global Facebook page for Star Wars Destiny is a really good example of kind of the negative portion of the change that we're seeing. The global Facebook page has, to a certain extent, become a wretched hive of scum and villainy, right? 4 out of 5 or some level of that of the posts in there are individuals really asking questions that could have been answered by just simply opening up the RRG and doing a control F, right? Control find, right? Doing a search. So the problem here is, so again, you guys have known me for a long time. You know that I'm big on helping new players get into the game, answer questions like that. The problem statement there is, if people in this group aren't willing to do the basic research, they're requiring time from other groups to help them do it. And that has largely put people off. And we have seen that with the participation on the global Facebook page, right? So you have this situation where people are tired of seeing 5 questions a day and they just don't participate in that anymore, which means that now people are moving on to their private Discords. And then the problem situation with that is it makes it harder for new players to go in because they don't know where to find the resources, right? So it kind of becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. So it very much is a problem statement, right? So what you're seeing is one person's need can actually cause a lot of work for a lot of other people. And as the community has to start to put in more work to survive, that becomes a very real problem. So again, there shouldn't be any problem, and I have no problem with continuing to support the consumers, but I want the consumers they're going to have to realize that it's time to step up and start to carry their own weight as well. All right, and lastly, the problem statement with the supporters. This group is becoming increasingly important in the community. They must rise to support the leaders, help deflect the increased needs from consumers, and not engage or fuel the destructive. Right? So these guys don't really have a problem statement as much as really just a mission goal. All right, so I've kind of been complaining about some things, and I get that. But some things we are doing very, very, very well in terms of community, right? There's other things I think we can improve on. And to avoid the perception of harping on one group or another, or getting hung up on one detail or another, I instead want to focus on the whole picture of our community. So to that end, I want to use a tool that I've used in many other professional aspects of my life. It's called Start, Stop, Continue. Some of you may be familiar with that. This is often associated with performance reviews like at a corporation, but it's really not the case that it's used as a performance management tool. What it is it's really best used by effective teams to get results and improvement. And that's what we are, folks, is we are a giant team looking to better ourselves and succeed in the future. So how does this work, right? So what I'm showing here is really just the basic graphic, right? Start, stop, continue. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And where can we improve? And I do want to have a note on the stop, which is really the what are we doing wrong? And that's actually not the case. It doesn't always mean that what we're doing is bad or wrong. It can also mean that where we're put, right, the stop can also identify areas where we're putting our energy that would really be best be put elsewhere, right? Again, for those of you in the lingo, that's also called a ZBB often, right? Which is basically, we're not going to be doing this anymore. Doesn't mean it was bad, but we're going to put our energy elsewhere, right? So that's really what I want to go through for each of the groups. And to do an example, and again, to show that I'm open and trying to look at every part of this, we're going to do Dice Commando first, which is effectively myself, right? So what am I going to start doing? I'm going to start taking ownership of cross-platform communication, right? I've basically been the YouTube guy. I haven't been big on Discords. I'm starting to change that. I've been, largely Facebook and YouTube, and we're having a very big problem as the community fractures, in my opinion, that communication isn't being merged across all and we're missing people. So I'm going to make it my mission going forward to try and bridge those gaps. I'm also going to try to determine how to engage and develop the future community. What I'm going to stop doing is, or what at least I'm going to try to stop doing, is internalizing community negativity. I'm going to try to not let it get to me. I'm also going to stop engaging as a day-to-day player. Really, there's no way that with the new world that we live in going forward with FFG and having the leaders lead, there's really no way that I can be a leader and a player. So I have internalized that, and I'm taking mental note of that. Doesn't mean I'm not playing Destiny anymore. That's not the case anymore, because then I just wouldn't be here. But my point is, I'm going to stop acting as if I'm a normal player in terms of giving feedback. What I'm going to continue doing is I'm going to continue content streams, right? That's our bread and butter. And I'm also going to continue IRL gameplay as COVID commits. All right, so let's talk about the group of leaders. Leaders in the area, right? Not just me, but across the area across the community, need to improve communication across the board, across multiple platforms. They need to recognize, they need to start recognizing that the community is much larger than their certain play group, their Discord, etc., right? And this goes specifically for individuals on the Renewed Hope Committee, right? Just because something is said to you and your buddies over drinks or whatever doesn't mean the rest of the community knows it. Just because it's said on your Renewed Hope Discord or the webpage doesn't mean that people know it. So that's where, again, the leaders need to start, is they need to start communicating to the community as a whole, not just their cultivated community. What they need to stop doing is trying to do it all. And this feeds back to my statement about I'm going to stop considering myself as being a normal player, right? The leaders have to stop trying to do it all. They're not going to be able to do it all. They're going to burn out. Leaders also need to stop engaging in no-win scenarios. And by this, I mean fighting with people on Discord about using dice or rotation or whatever it may be. They're going to have to do that. They're going to have to disengage. They're going to burn out. And again, stop, don't burn out, right? That's not really a stop, but that's just a comment to the above. Leaders, what they need to continue doing is organizing events, developing content in all forums, and developing the future of the game. All right, next let's go into consumers. What do the consumer group need to start doing? The consumers need to acknowledge and comprehend the shift that this community has in time and effort demands, right? We are no longer getting stuff from FFG and using it. We are now developing our own stuff, and that takes time. Consumers need to stop asking questions without even doing basic and minimal research. Do not expect others to put in time that you yourself don't want to spend. Consumers then need to continue participating and enjoying the game, being a part of the community, and giving feedback. All right, so why specifically am I saying that about the using time, right? That does, I grant, it sounds very forceful in that it can very much sound that I don't want to answer your stupid questions. And that's really not what I'm saying. So what I'm showing here is an example of what happened back when I rolled out the Dice Commando solo mode stuff. That was a very exciting, or that should have been it was a very exciting time for the community. It should have been a very exciting time for me, and it wasn't. And as many of you know, I refuse to do any more of that because of just the backlash and feedback that I got. And this is one of those examples. So the name has been removed. But what happened here was this individual, at this point we had rolled out the dice and we had rolled out the printable, so it was not yet available on TTS, but it was all available in printable in PDF, free on the internet, right? Contacted me and said, hey, I want to try your mode on TTS. Can you send me all the images? And I said, well, aren't you able to get what you need from, the card screenshot, right? Basically, my argument was if you need the images, you can just snip them or copy them out of the PDF. And he said, no, I need the card images. Now, first off, I don't want to attack, I'm not attacking this individual. In his heart, this individual meant the right thing, right? He was willing to do a little work to make this available on TTS, which is super awesome. The problem is he wasn't willing to do all the work, right? He wanted me to go through the work of sending him something. And then I told him, I was like, look, I'm working on getting on TTS, but I'm at work right now, and I'll do it when I get home, right? I'm working on it this weekend. And that wasn't good enough. As you can see there, he says, but it only takes me like 5 minutes to do this. Why are you not doing this? So long story short, right, this, I've moved past this. I'm not really throwing shade here, but my point here is the result of this was that I got frustrated. I turned off the Dice Commando Facebook page for a weekend to try and take a break from stuff like this. And now I refuse to do additional Dice Commando solo mode content, right? So while this guy, I believe in his heart, meant well, the result of asking for more stuff and saying, well, it only takes 5 minutes, is the result has been a cutoff of additional content for the community, right? Now, you can say whatever you will about me and my personal way to deal with that, but remember that the other leaders in the community, the other people in the community doing things are people as well, right? And if you come at them and you constantly demand things and you expect things of them that they're doing for free and volunteering, we do run the risk in certain parts of the community having similar results, right? So again, I'm not throwing shade on this particular one. It was just a really good example of someone trying to do the right thing, I believe, but really resulting in making an overall negative impact for the community. All right, lastly, this is the destructive group, right? And again, I can't be more clear. I am confident that the majority of the destructive group are some of our most loyal and passionate players, right? It's just the way that this is all is implemented. So what does the destructive group need to start doing? They need to accept that changes and new content are necessary or this game will die, right? I need them to propose fixes and solutions versus just digging in their heels and fighting every inch of the way about something. They need to stop the knockdown drag-outs on issues, and they need to stop the my way or the highway attitude. What they do need to continue doing, what we really need them to continue doing, because it is very valuable, is giving feedback and expressing opinions. A lot of the people in this group, because of how passionate they are and how into this game they are, they have really, really, really good ideas. But when that idea is given or they don't like someone else's idea and they fight about it for 2 days, their whole point of what they're trying to accomplish is often missed because everyone else is just focused on all of the fighting, right? So where this group can really succeed is to try to continue, where they need to succeed is to continue and try and push their opinions and their ideas, but do so in a way that doesn't make the rest of the community basically just stop engaging. All right, so again, a lot of the noise specifically that this group's been making lately as we moved into our own is of course around the continuing committee, right? Who the heck are these guys? Who the heck put them in charge? So on, so on, so on, right? So, it's throwing up an example here across the bottom of the screen. This was an individual left a comment on my YouTube. Why would anyone want 2/3 of their cards to be unplayable and then have new cards dictated by someone who's not Lucas Litzinger? Detect is a horrible mechanic, clunky, and clearly goes against the game's design. That's just the beginning, right? So there's a lot of problems with this statement in of itself. First off, 1/3 of your card, by your metric of 2/3, 1/3 of your cards are useless today, right? If you're assuming that once rotation happens, your cards are useless, 1/3 of your cards are already useless. The second is Lucas Litzinger's been out of this game for longer than he's been in it from an actual design standpoint, right? So I think, again, I'm not trying to tear apart his argument based on just the details here. But the point here is he's not offering a solution. He's just saying everything here is a bad idea, right? But what's the counter proposal? Is the counter proposal we should only do infinite and not because what it sounds to me is that we should only do infinite and never print new cards, right? The game will not survive in that way, right? Furthermore, we have another such comment. I'm not a fan rotation, as with new sets, all of FFG's cards will be rotated out eventually, making them pointless. The game will be 100% online, and people will want to use their paper cards dice, causing a revolt. It would be much more beneficial to focus on infinite format, all sets, and balance it with bands restricted like Force Speed or Ancient Lightsaber and make the new sets accordingly, right? So this is a much better type style feedback, right? There's still some very much attacking and really kind of baseless arguments in there. But what he's at least trying to do is say, all right, this is what I would like to see, right? Now, again, he's not proposing how we do that, or he's not saying I will do it or I will help to do it, but he's at least kind of trying to morph his argument, right? So this is kind of the next step. So to those who are upset about renewed hope, continuing committee, whatever you want to call it, I would just want to point one thing out. If FFG was still around, they would be making decisions that we are all not happy with also, right? The difference is that you would be mad at them and not yelling at the community. And the reality of the thing is, I don't agree with everything that the Renewed Hope community is doing. There's a lot of things I wish were different. For example, I fundamentally believe that, I believe that Destiny's fundamentally broken right now. I believe Afra's fundamentally broken. I believe Palpatine's fundamentally broken. I believe there's a lot of other things out there that are problems. And I'm very concerned that a lot of the people who are in charge of the Renewed Hope committee are actually the ones that enjoy playing those playstyles. And I think that that's a very big risk for the future of the game. That said, I fully support 100% the Renewed Hope committee because the alternative
is putting our cards in the closet and never playing with them again, right? So I think most people reasonably understand this, but the thing is, there has been no game in the history of time that has survived without rotation, right? Every game that's still alive and that has been alive for a long time has rotation. It's just the reality of moving things forward. You need a new influx of content. You need new excitement. You need new things to talk about. Otherwise, it just goes by the wayside. And furthermore, there's a lot of people upset about the move away from paper to TTS. And, throwing COVID aside and all of that, the reality is as the global community decreases, it's going to become harder and harder to find local matches. Having TTS out there as a way to make sure that those matches happen is just going to be the reality of the situation. I'm not happy about it. I want to roll real dice with people, right? I hugely dislike TTS, but it's the tool that we have to keep this game going, right? So it kind of falls into that bin of like, look, we don't have to be happy about everything, but we have to be happy about the overall success of the game staying alive, right? That's our success criteria, right? And again, the one thing that's kind of bothered me about all of these complaints is I have yet to see an example where Zion comes to your house and rips up all your old cards, right? I have yet to see an example where Lanza comes and sits and forces you to play the new standard, right? You can still do what you want to do. You don't have to use the new rule sets. You don't have to use the Gandorka, right? You have the ability to go out and organize events and do what you want as well, right? So step up, take charge, lead by example, and you can get what you want that way. And furthermore, the last thing I'm going to say on this group before we move on is attacking someone who is selling you something, aka FFG, is one thing, because generally they're going to swallow it and continue to do the activity to make you money. Attacking someone who is doing something for free by volunteering their time, the only result that can have is to make them not want to do it anymore, which just hurts us all, right? So again, please continue to give your feedback, continue to engage with the community, but don't make it personal and don't do these knockdown, drag out fights where everybody just wants to walk away and be frustrated. All right, so that leads me to a thing that I believe in very firmly, which is the concept of disagree and commit. Disagree and commit does not mean that you cave in, right? That's not what this is. But let's think about it this way. Viper Probe Droid. I dug my heels in on Viper Probe Droid. I still didn't get what I wanted, right? But I'm at least saying, all right, I'm going to fight this one. I think this is a dumb ruling. I'm going to fight it, right? Now, again, I still didn't get my way, but the point is it carries more weight, at least to those who want to listen to you, when you decide the thing that you're going to fight about. If you fight about every single little thing, people just think that you're upset about everything, right? So again, it kind of falls into the pick your battles, right? And fundamentally, what do we really want? We really want this game to be alive. We really want this game to last forever. And sometimes we're going to have to just disagree and commit to move this game forward and make sure that it's here forever. All right? So last group that we want to do start, stop, continue on are our supporters, right? And I want to be very clear here. Supporters, you are our main key to success, okay? What supporters need to start doing, engage with new players while ensuring energy efficiency. Deflect negativity, mainly from the leader population, but from everyone. Because again, as supporters start to step up, things may start to be directed at them. So even if the only thing we can do one day is to settle someone else down and deflect negativity, it will help the community on a whole, right? And this is the primary thing, in my opinion, that I see that the supporters can do, is to try to quell the negativity and make sure that people who are trying to do things feel supported, right? Furthermore, engage those new players, make sure that try and be the ones answering their questions versus having the leaders be the ones to do it. What I need supporters to stop doing is engaging with no-win scenarios. Again, if somebody just wants to be angry on Discord because they're angry about Destiny going away, let them be angry, don't engage them. We need to have faction, we need to stop, and this is largely supporter-driven, right? Leaders, of course, own it, but this is largely supporter-driven because they pile on. We need to stop faction-based infighting, right? It doesn't matter if you're a looper, if you're a commando, if you're artificery, if you're an entourage, it doesn't matter, right? We are one community, and we are one community that is under attack and is shrinking. And if we're fighting in and amongst ourselves, we're not going to survive, right? So again, we need to stop faction-based infighting. And lastly, again, don't burn out. Stop burning out. Don't burn out. Save your energy. Put your energy in the right place because we need you. What the supporters need to continue doing, because you've been doing an awesome job at it, is participating and helping to organize and promote events. And again, continue to give your feedback and ideas. All right, so lots of talking there, lots of negatives, lots of positives, and so on. And instead of, it's again, because of the way that our world is, it's very easy for us to focus on the negative. I want to turn and kind of close this episode out looking at the positive. So I am introducing Dice Commando's Positive Force Award, right? The most important thing that we can do right now is have a positive attitude. It's hard. We're mad, we're betrayed. Well, we feel betrayed. I at least feel betrayed, and I feel let down by FFG. Inevitable, water under the bridge. Again, time for us to move forward. So let's focus on the positive. We shouldn't be attacking ourselves. We need to look at the leaders who are doing good, the people in the community who are doing good, the supporters who are doing good, and the good things in the community. So, like I said, introducing the Dice Commando Positive Force Award. The first person getting the Positive Force Award is Steven Lanza, right? So why is Steve, yeah, Steven, woo! So why is Steven the first up on the Positive Force Award? What is he doing in the community that's so great? What's getting him this is not the fact that he's involved in Renewed Hope. He is, right? But he's a leader there willing to take that on. What I have really been impressed with in Steven is since COVID happened, he stepped up on those Thursday tourneys on TTS, right? He stepped up, he added a venue by which people could continue to get their Destiny outlets on a weekly basis in a semi-Uber competitive, I know those are conflicting, but semi-Uber competitive format, right? This tournament that he started, the entire Entourage Gaming crew, the attitude that they bring has really been exceedingly valuable to getting Destiny focused, giving people something to look forward to every single week, something that they can prep for, something they can think for. It's been truly fantastic. Plus, you look at that big goofy face, there's no way that guy is not just a happy guy all the time around. So, Steven, we salute you. Thank you very much for being a positive force in the community. Dice Commando thanks you. All right, so that is all we have for today. Again, long, lengthy discussion, lots of feelings and opinions and stuff like that. But again, it's for the best. Remember, what we all want is the same thing. We're all one big team. We're all one big family. And what we want is to continue to be able to do what we love, which is supporting this game. So before I close out again, I want to thank everybody, again, truly from my heart, for being here for as long as you have been. 100 episodes is really a big milestone for me, and I really appreciate the support that you've offered me, you've offered Mike, and you've offered everybody else over the years. So if nothing else, go Commando.